The Orthoschnapp Gambit. This is one gambit that is full of dirty traps and tricks, and it was designed to crush French defense players very quickly or any positions involving this move pawn to e6. You see, the main goal of this gambit is to open up the game and oversimplifying it. Even if you don't get your favorite traps, at least you should aim at opening the game, because most French players or people who play pawn to e6 very early love playing closed positions. So this is kind of part 2 of the study that I began a few days ago on this topic. After e4 and say black plays e6, I still recommend you go c4. I should mention to say this isn't a dubious gambit. It's also played at master level. You can check the master's database. MVL plays this against super strong grandmasters. This is also called the Steiner variation, as I mentioned in my previous video. The most played move is d5. In this position, never should you take with your e pawn. At this point, you want to take with your c pawn first. And after pawn takes, you have an option to play the main line, which is ed. But we'll look at that in my next video if you guys are still interested in this opening. And by the way, if you take this pawn, it won't be called the Orthoschnapp Gambit anymore. What makes the Orthoschnapp to be a gambit is when we sacrifice the e pawn. For example, if we play queen a4 or queen b3, that will become the Orthoschnapp. You should know the difference. At this point, this is known as the Steiner variation. Previously, we looked at the move queen a4 check, but today we're going to focus much on queen b3. And just a quick recap, after queen a4 check, if black plays bishop d7, the whole idea is to play queen b3. See, what bishop d7 does is it blocks the vision of the black queen. So on the next move, you're going to target 2 pawns. And if black chooses to take the pawn on e4, first you activate your light squad bishop. We're going to see this in the normal Orthoschnapp Gambit. And we saw how things may quickly turn sour if white plays the top played move queen e7. You first of all start with queen takes b7, and after bishop c6, not allowing you to take that, you go queen c8 check. Queen d8 only move, bishop takes, king takes, you win the free queen. If king e7, that leads to checkmate. This is what we looked at in our previous study. But hey, instead of playing queen a4 check on move 4, do you know that you have an option of playing queen b3 right away? This is the mainline Orthoschnapp Gambit, and you will see some great ideas as well. So let's begin with this. Queen b3, the Orthoschnapp Gambit. So now you know queen a4 is still the Steiner variation. It is queen b3 that introduces the Orthoschnapp. Noticing that you are attacking this pawn twice, black will usually take on e4. And now the idea is to develop or involve the light squad bishop into the game, double attacking the f7 pawn. Some of your amateur opponents will try to defend the f7 pawn like this with knight h6. But the best you can do here is to play pawn to d3. Always. Why not pawn to d4? See, someday you would love to develop your knight on f3, but black's pawn on e4 is an obstruction, so you want to play d3 and threaten to take it on the next move so that you can freely develop your knight. What this also does is it paves the way for your dark squad bishop. You want to eliminate the defender of the f7 pawn. For example, if ed happens, you can safely go bishop takes, and after gh, who knows, this may even lead to mating too, like checkmate. Anywho, black doesn't have to play king d7 if they want to leave. In the words of the Terminator T800, they have to play king e7, right? And now you see the reason why we played pawn to d3, so that we could freely go knight f3 on the next move. By the way, in the Orthoschnapp Gambit, get used to this pawn capture. Again, our primary goal is to open up the position to change the face of the French defense. So you go knight f3. What else do you know? Most of your opponents are going to play bishop g7, trying to free up things, but it's always important to put your king to safety first. You're not always going to be checkmating your opponent very quickly with the Orthoschnapp Gambit. That's not the goal, you guys. You should know. The main goal is to open up the position if we don't checkmate our opponent anytime soon, and quick development. Thirdly, we want to attack and attack and attack. In this position, maybe black may play king f8, trying to run away from this upcoming check. And this is when you can go bishop h5, threatening to checkmate. So if queen f6 is played or something like that, now you go rook e1, threatening to checkmate. So many checkmate threats, by the way. People play bishop d7 in this position, but that allows you to take the other vulnerable pawn on b7, threatening to take. And by the way, if black thinks they can stop you from capturing the rook, far from it, because you can take that rook either way, so that after bishop takes, you checkmate black like that. In fact, taking the rook is not even a wise decision. You have a mate in 3 in this position, beginning with queen c8. This is check. Again, there's nothing much black can do. They only have queen d8, or like that. You have queen takes, and whatever they do next, you mate with the queen. Before I show you my next chess move, let me show you a smarter move for your finances. I hate advertisements, and I know you don't like them either, but without them, this channel can't survive. This video is sponsored by Casper Tech Clean Books, your all-in-one bookkeeping and accounting application that I personally built. So you can record sales, expenses, transfers, deposits, cash outs, and soft loans, to mention only but a few, and instantly generate invoices, income statements, balance sheets, cash flow statements, journal entries, all in real time. Casper Tech Clean Books helps you track every cent like a grandmaster tracking moves on the board. Now back to chess. Once again, the Orthoschnapp Gambit accepted goes as follows: e4, e6, c4, d5, cd, ed. Then instead of playing queen a4, which is the Steiner variation, we go queen b3. Another beauty of this gambit is black will most of the times be taking the pawn on e4, allowing you to develop your line squad bishop. Now say this time black doesn't play knight h6. That looks too obvious. What if they play queen e7? At least this is what people do. You see, queen e7 kind of makes things simple. It makes sense to go knight c3 in this position, trying to threaten something on d5. The top played move here is knight f6. Now I want you to master this. Never be afraid of this pawn on e4. In most cases, we shall be opening this foul, even if black's queen is indirectly eyeing our king. Why? Because we have our dark squad bishop that can sit on a3. This is a strategic move, and that's why you always want to get rid of this pawn on e4 as soon as you can. This also paves the way for your king's knight to sit on f3. So never be ashamed to go pawn to d3, even if black's queen is on e7. This is the top played move, and it's what I recommend. The point is, after pawn takes, you can even play king f1 and nothing will happen to your soul. Nothing will happen to your nose either, and nobody knows. So you just go bishop e3. By the way, pawn to d3 is called a clearance sacrifice. So you just cleared the way for your dark squad bishop. This also allows us to castle long and activate all our pieces. Remember, piece activity is one of our goals in quick development. There are instances where black plays d2 check, expecting you to take. This is why I said you don't even have to take. Your king will be very safe on f1. After something like knight c6, this is when you can go knight f3. That's why you gave up your d pawn for activity. I've seen people playing knight a5 in this position, which is very dubious because you have queen b5 check. That is in trouble. So after knight c6, you can safely take on d2 with your bishop. And look at this threat. Just say bishop e6. This allows you to take instantly, knowing that if black takes, you have rook e1, pinning the queen to the king. By the way, this knight is pinned to the king. It can't move. Even if it had to, you could still take. So these are the ideas behind the Orthoschnapp Gambit. Always remember, knight a5 is a 1-0 move due to queen b5 check. It doesn't work. Anywho, after sacrificing your pawn, then black takes, and then you block the check with your bishop. It's not every time you're going to see your opponents playing d2 check. The top played move is knight c6. They just want to play knight a5, again attacking your bishop and queen. But just like before, you can welcome this move. Play knight f3, maybe stopping knight e5. What do we see in the Lichess database again? Knight f5. This is what humans do. But this is a 1-0 move again due to queen b5. People don't listen, so they have to go back. Knight c6. And you have an option to castle short or long. I love going long. This also poses a threat. Black plays a6. I always have time to go queen b3. By the way, here I can do whatever I want. Even queen g5, do that. All up to me. But queen b3 I find attractive. Again, if knight a5 is played, I have queen a4. This will be check, and maybe I'll win that. In fact, before winning the knight, I would first take on f7, just winning more things, and then do this. Just an example. Anywho, again, see that you are not winning in 8, you are not winning in 10 moves. You're just having fun by playing against the French defense in a different way. The whole idea is to take French players out of their comfort zone. So in all of these, now you know knight f5 is a 1-0 move and you shouldn't be scared of it. Just go knight f3. If black plays standard moves like bishop d7 in this position, you can just take. And you see what this move queen e7 does is it kind of slows down black's development on the king side. And this is another thing I love about the Orthoschnapp Gambit. It slows down black's kingside development. So you will see black's king on the center for a long period of time. Let's look at another line. After e4, e6, c4, d5, pawn takes, and queen b3. Again, you will see most of your opponents taking, after which you go bishop c4. Question: why do people love queen e7 instead of queen d7? Well, they love queen e7 because it indirectly eyes, and queen d7 kinda allows us to go d3 without worrying about any discovery checks. Point is, after ed, we still go knight f3 without even having to, do whatever. Knight c6 will always be played in an effort to do this, but now you're just in time to put your king to safety. And if they ever play knight f5 again, by the way, this is one move they love playing from time to time. At worst, you can even take on d3. At best, just go rook e1. This is check. And what this does is it kind of confuses black. Most people block with their bishop, forgetting that you have bishop takes f7 check, and on the next move you might rescue your queen peacefully. See, in this position I would even consider playing queen c3. This attacks two things and the rook indirectly. So if knight takes c4 happens, now I take on g7. Black can't play bishop f6, that bishop is pinned. The rook is dying, by the way. What can they do? If they ever choose to play queen g4, the top played move, I don't even have to take immediately. I have bishop g5. Lastly, there are instances when black can decline your Orthoschnapp Gambit after queen b3. They don't really have to take your pawn. In fact, the second most played move in this position is knight f6. Now, almost anything you do here is acceptable. So maybe try this tricky move, knight c3 in this position. In fact, this is my top recommendation for now. What if pawn takes? This again transposes back to the Orthoschnapp Gambit accepted. You can go bishop c4, attacking that. And this is why you may see most people playing queen e7. Remember what I said about this? You can safely go d3. It doesn't matter because if pawn takes, you have king f1 or simply bishop e3. Bishop e3 develops a piece. So you're going to castle long. Quick development is key. So we are just back to whatever we covered. By the way, this time if knight g4 is played, this only allows you to go knight d5. That's why we play knight c3. And this is not good for black. On the next move, you can even castle long and play an open game. Continue playing an open game. That's what you want to do against French players. So after knight c3, if black doesn't take with the pawn, let's say they take with the knight, up to you to take on d5 with the queen or with the knight. But in all honesty, I love knight takes. So that after de, again, I develop my lovely bishop to c4, attacking that. Once again, we might see queen e7. d3 in this position doesn't really add up due to queen b4 check. You don't want to exchange queens early. Remember that this time you don't have a knight on c3, which stops that check. So maybe in this position, you can play knight e2 first. Again, see how black's queen on e7 has slowed down the kingside development. For black, knight c6, castle shot before playing d3 this time. Knight f5 is always a 1-0 move, as I said, due to queen b5. That knight has to go back and they will lose a tempo. Next, you might consider playing d3 and open up the position as quickly as possible. Remember, quick development, aggression, attacking, peace activity are our goals when we play the Orthoschnapp Gambit. Another one, after you play queen b3, black may play c6. But after this, I just love taking, oversimplifying things. Taking back with the c pawn will make us both have or remain with isolated pawns. It's not much of a stretch. Again, knight c3 comes into picture. Attacking this, d4 will be an overextension. In fact, if this happens, you can even ignore that and play bishop c4, knowing that on the next move, if black takes, you have bishop takes. If king e7, you have bishop takes, again, winning back the knight. So, after knight c3, never be ashamed of sacrificing your knight. If knight f6, you can even play d4 here. There is no c5. This is no longer the normal French defense. You have bishop e3, you develop normally, and you castle short. After c6 and pawn takes, if black chooses to take with the queen, all up to you to go into this endgame with isolated pawns, or play queen e3 if you so wish. Don't just be tempted to go bishop c4. Bishop c4 in this particular position is a bit too much. If you want to keep queens on the board, you can go queen g3 in this position, or queen e3. A more simpler line is to take, and after pawn takes, you go d4, play an equal game. And this is it about the Orthoschnapp Gambit for now. I'll still continue with these studies on the Orthoschnapp. If you guys are still interested, just let me know in the comment section down below. Now check this out, you guys. If you want to learn more about these kinds of tricks or similar opening ideas like the ones I just shared, you can watch this video that has popped up on the top left. Another video that I highly recommend you check out to skyrocket your rating is this one that has popped up on the top right. But if you love Gambit videos, you can check out the video that has popped up on the bottom left. And if you are a lover of chess traps like myself, feel free to click on the video that has popped up on the bottom right.